Tonight, when your room finally goes quiet, your brain may betray you, not with danger, not with pain, but with that one moment from years ago when you said the wrong thing, smiled too long, waved at someone who was not waving at you, or heard your own voice come out strange in a room full of people. Your body is safe, your door is locked, no one is thinking about it. But suddenly your face feels warm again, and some ancient part of your mind whispers the same question. Why did you do that? The strange answer is that your brain is not trying to torture you, it is trying to protect you. And the protection system is far older than your phone, your school, your job, your group chat, or the tiny social disasters that still follow you home. Embarrassment feels modern. It feels built for awkward texts, bad presentations, public silence, missed handshakes, and accidentally saying "you too" when the waiter tells you to enjoy your meal. But the machinery underneath it is ancient. It was shaped in small groups, around fires, under open skies, where being accepted by other humans was not a nice bonus. It was survival. For most of human history, you did not live as a separate individual moving through strangers. You lived inside a group. Your food, protection, mating chances, childcare, knowledge, and safety all depended on other people continuing to include you. A lone human was fragile. A group human was dangerous. A lone human could freeze, starve, or be killed by an animal with better teeth. A group human could share tools, watch the dark, warn others, and survive. So your brain became obsessed with one question: do they still accept you? That question did not disappear when cities grew and bedrooms filled with glowing screens. It is still there. It scans faces. It replays tone. It studies tiny pauses in conversation as if they might contain the fate of your entire social world. Have you ever sent a message, seen no reply, and felt your stomach drop even though nothing has actually happened? That is not weakness. That is old wiring meeting new silence. The psychologist Mark Leary proposed something called sociometer theory. That sounds complicated. It is not. It means your self-esteem may work like a social fuel gauge, constantly measuring whether you seem accepted or rejected by others. When the gauge drops, you feel bad, not randomly, functionally. The bad feeling pushes you to notice a problem, repair a relationship, or avoid doing the same thing again. Embarrassment is one of those signals. It is not just an emotion, it is a social alarm. But unlike fear, which points outward toward a snake, a cliff, or a speeding car, embarrassment points inward. It says the threat is you, or more precisely, something you just did that might lower your value in the eyes of others. That is why embarrassment can feel so intimate. It does not merely say something went wrong, it says you went wrong. But is that true? Usually no. Most of the time, the moment is small. A word slips, a chair squeaks, a laugh comes out too loud. You misunderstand a joke. You trip on a flat floor and instantly become aware that you have a body. Because your brain does not record social pain like a neutral fact, it tags it, it marks it as important. It says, remember this, do not repeat this. The neuroscientist Antonio Damasio helped show that emotions are not just messy interruptions to thinking, they guide thinking. They attach meaning to experiences so your brain can make faster decisions later. A cold memory says, this happened. An emotional memory says, this matters. Embarrassing moments matter to the brain because they may contain information about belonging. A mistake in private is one thing. A mistake in front of people is something else. Have you ever noticed how much worse it feels when there was an audience? That audience is the key. Without witnesses, embarrassment has nowhere to land. You can spill water alone and simply clean it up. You can spill water in a meeting and feel as if civilization itself has turned to watch. The water is the same. The meaning is not. Your brain cares about being seen because being seen used to have consequences. In a small ancestral band, reputation was not an abstract idea. It was reality. People remembered who shared food. People remembered who lied. People remembered who helped, cheated, protected, panicked, listened, or caused trouble. Reputation could decide who trusted you, who partnered with you, who defended you, and who avoided you. So your mind became painfully sensitive to signs that you had been evaluated. That sensitivity still works too well. Modern life floods you with tiny reputation moments that your ancient brain treats with suspicious seriousness. Your body reacts as if your place in the tribe may be shaking, even when the tribe is just 6 people in a room and one of them is thinking about lunch. Why does your face get hot? Why do you blush? Charles Darwin was fascinated by blushing. In the expression of the emotions in man and animals, he described it as one of the most human expressions. Blushing is strange because it gives away exactly what you may want to hide. You feel exposed. Then your body exposes you more. Your cheeks redden, your eyes drop, your smile becomes awkward, your shoulders may shrink inward. It seems like a design flaw, but it may actually be a social repair tool. When you blush, you are not only showing discomfort, you are showing that you know something went wrong, you are showing concern for the group's judgment, you are signaling that you care, and in social life, that can help. Research by Dasher Keltner and others suggests that embarrassment displays can make people seem more trustworthy and more cooperative. In plain English, your awkward reaction may tell people, "I am not dangerous. I know I made a mistake. I still want to belong." That is the twist. Embarrassment feels like social death, but often it is a social apology. Your body is trying to repair the tiny crack before it spreads. This is why embarrassed people often smile in a strange way, not a full, happy smile, more like a nervous surrender. The smile says, "Please read this correctly." That awareness matters. A person who makes a mistake and feels no embarrassment can seem threatening. A person who makes a mistake and visibly cares can seem human. So why does the memory still hurt when everyone else has forgotten? Because your brain learns from pain. Physical pain teaches you not to touch fire. Social pain teaches you not to touch rejection. The psychologist Naomi Eisenberger studied social exclusion using brain imaging in a simple game called Cyberball. Participants thought they were tossing a ball with other people, then the other players stopped including them. It was not a real physical injury, it was just exclusion, but parts of the brain involved in distress became active. The lesson is not that social pain and physical pain are identical. They are not. The lesson is that exclusion is important enough for the brain to treat it seriously. Your ancestors needed belonging so deeply that losing it had to feel bad. If rejection felt like nothing, you might ignore it. If embarrassment felt like nothing, you might keep violating the invisible rules that hold groups together. So the brain made it memorable, sometimes too memorable. This is where your modern suffering begins. The system that evolved to help you learn from rare, important group mistakes now operates in a world overflowing with social signals. You are no longer judged only by 20 or 40 familiar people. You can be seen by classmates, coworkers, neighbors, followers, strangers, algorithms, cameras, and comment sections. Your ancestors could leave a bad moment behind when the fire went out. You carry yours in your pocket. A mistake can feel permanent even when it is not. And because your brain cannot fully tell the difference between a village reputation and a digital impression, it may respond to small embarrassments with ancient urgency. This is why you can be lying in bed years later and suddenly remember a sentence you said in a hallway. But your brain kept the lesson because it once believed the lesson mattered. What did it learn? Maybe it took one awkward moment and turned it into a rule about your whole self. You say one strange thing and the brain writes, "You are strange." You fail once and the brain writes, "You are unsafe in public." You are laughed at once and the brain writes, "Never risk being seen again." But that is not wisdom. That is fear wearing a teacher's mask. The psychologist Susan Nolan Huxama studied rumination, which means repetitive thinking about distress. Rumination feels like problem solving. Often it is not. It circles the pain without changing the outcome. It asks why again and again, but never reaches repair. Why did you say that? Why did they look at you? Why are you like this? The questions seem important, but after a point, they stop helping you learn. They become a mental treadmill. Lots of movement, no distance. Your brain replays the embarrassing moment because it wants control. But memory does not work like a video file. Each replay can strengthen the emotional path back to the event. The more often you visit it, the easier it becomes to visit again. A trail becomes a road becomes a highway. Soon the memory appears without being invited, and then you think the memory must be important because it keeps appearing. But sometimes it keeps appearing because you train the path, what breaks the loop. Not pretending it did not happen, not attacking yourself, not forcing your brain to stop. The first step is seeing what the feeling is trying to do. Embarrassment says, check your place in the group. So check it honestly. Did the moment actually damage your relationships? Did anyone mention it later? Did people continue treating you normally? Would you judge someone else this harshly for the same mistake? That last question is powerful because you already know the answer. If a friend waved at the wrong person, stumbled over a word, or told a joke that failed, you probably would not store it in a mental museum for 10 years. You might not remember it at all. This difference has a name: the spotlight effect. Thomas Galovich, Victoria Medvec, and Kenneth Savitsky studied how people overestimate how much others notice them. In one famous experiment, participants wore an embarrassing t-shirt into a room and later guessed how many people noticed it. They guessed too high, much too high. The lesson is simple. You feel brightly lit from the inside. Other people are standing under their own spotlights. They are thinking about their own faces, their own words, their own mistakes, their own awkward exits from conversations. You are not invisible, but you are also not the main character in everyone else's memory. This can be humbling and freeing. The embarrassing moment that feels huge to you may be tiny to them. A speck, a blur, a thing overwritten by dinner, traffic, sleep, bills, weather, and their own private shame reel. Everyone has one. That may be the most comforting truth. You are not uniquely embarrassing. You are uniquely aware of your own embarrassment. You only have full access to your own inner replay machine. You do not see the billions of other replays happening behind other eyes. Every human is carrying deleted scenes. Some are funny, some are painful, some are tiny, some shaped entire personalities. But the mechanism is shared. It is part of being a social animal with a memory deep enough to time travel and a need for belonging strong enough to bend the body. So the goal is not to never feel embarrassed. That would make you less human, not stronger. The goal is to let embarrassment do its small job without giving it the throne. Let it say, you care about connection. Let it say, you noticed a mistake. Let it say, maybe repair something if repair is needed. Then let it leave, because embarrassment is supposed to be a messenger, not a life sentence. When the memory appears at night, you can answer it differently. You do not have to argue with it for hours. That response matters because your brain is always updating. It learned the memory through emotion. It can soften the memory through new meaning. The event does not change. Your relationship to it can. The warm face becomes a signal, not a verdict. The cringe becomes evidence that you care, not evidence that you are broken. The replay becomes an old survival system, still checking the borders of belonging in a world too big for the map it was given. And maybe that is why embarrassing memories feel so strange. They are small moments carrying enormous ancient weight. A sentence, a look, a stumble, a blush. Inside each one is the ghost of a much older fear. Do they still want you here? In most cases they do, and in the cases where someone judged you forever for one harmless human mistake, that may say more about their tribe than your worth. Because the embarrassing moment was never just about the moment, it was about the ancient bargain of human life. Be noticed enough to be included. Be careful enough not to be rejected. Be yourself, but not so much that the group turns away. No wonder the brain gets confused. No wonder it replays. No wonder it tries to protect you with a feeling that hurts. Tonight, when your room finally goes quiet, your brain may betray you, but now you know what it is really doing. It is not dragging you back to prove that you failed. It is carrying an old social alarm from a time when belonging meant survival, and it has mistaken a memory for a threat. So when that moment returns, let it arrive, let it blush, let it stand there awkwardly in the doorway of your mind. Then remind it that the tribe did not leave. The fire is still warm, and you are still here.